Everyone, it's Patty with Politically Pumped, and you're tuned into The Brief, where we take a step back from the chaos of the headlines, try to understand what's actually happening, why it matters. Let's get into it. So, a couple of friends this past week asked me, why can't we just remove Congress and vote new ones in? These people are pretty useless. And the annoying answer is, you can't. There's no emergency, you're fired button for Congress, even when they're openly refusing to do the basics. That's not an accident. That's how this system was built. In this episode, I want to walk you through what accountability for Congress actually looks like right now, why it feels fake, and how a digital democracy could change the game by letting us vote directly on the bills in plain language, not just on politician brands every few years. So let's start with the simple question. What happens if your member of Congress just doesn't do their job? They dodge town halls, they ignore calls and emails, they vote against what most people in the district want. There's no recall button for members of Congress. You and your neighbors can't just collect signatures and kick them out midterm. Once they're in until their term ends, unless their own colleagues decide to throw them out. Technically, Congress can police itself. The House and Senate can censure a member, which basically is just a public, you were bad while they keep doing their job, or expel a member, which actually takes a 2/3 vote and removes them from office. That sounds strong, but in real life, expulsion, extremely rare, where we're talking like Civil War level, major corruption, or criminal convictions. And even then, colleagues usually drag their feet because nobody wants to set a precedent that might come back on them. There are ethics committees in offices. On paper, they investigate misconduct, but they mostly work in the dark, move slowly, and depend on the same politicians they're supposed to oversee. So when people ask, why can't we just fire them? The honest answer is, the system was never designed to let you do that. It was designed to let them decide whether one of their own actually gets consequences. That leaves elections as the only real way to get rid of useless or corrupt members of Congress. On paper, sounds like accountability. In the House, you get a shot every 2 years. In the Senate, every 6 years. That's a long time to sit with someone who's failing you right now. And in practice, elections are warped by a few things. Gerrymandered districts, where the real election is the primary that most people don't vote in. Incumbents who have more money, more media, and more name recognition. Low turnout, especially in primaries and off years, which means a small organized group decides for millions of people. So technically, yeah, you can just vote them out. But for a lot of districts, that's not a real world threat. For the people in power, it feels more like background noise than a serious performance review. Put that next to the lack of recall and the insider controlled ethics process, and it makes sense that you feel like you live in a bubble where consequences are optional. You're not crazy, you're just reading the system correctly. This is where, for me, a digital democracy comes in. Not as a buzzword, but as a fix for a very specific design flaw. There's no real time binding feedback loop between us and the people voting in our name. So when I say digital democracy, I don't just mean better polls or nicer dashboards. I mean a system where we vote directly online on specific bills and policy choices. Those votes are secure and auditable, but easy for normal people to use. And the bills are written and explained in plain language that we can actually understand. Instead of a 900-page bill full of legalese, you get a clear, plain English summary of what this would do, the trade offs, who it helps, who pays, what changes, and then you vote yes, no, or I prefer this version over that one. Under a real digital democracy, Congress becomes the place that turns those plain language instructions into legal text and has to show its work. Here's the paragraph that matches the thing you voted for. We already see pieces of this in the wild. Cities are using online participatory budgeting, where residents go to a website and vote directly on which projects get funded. There are platforms that let people vote on issues and bills and send those results directly to the legislators. Right now, most of that is advisory. Nice, but ignorable. What I'm talking about is the next step, giving those tools some teeth. So, what does this look like when digital democracy actually has power? I see it in a couple of layers. Layer one is going to be the transitional piece, a public scoreboard. Imagine an official, secure platform where your district votes on major bills before Congress does. Each big vote, we all see, hey, here's how our district voted in plain language. Here's how our member of Congress voted in DC. Over time, that builds a simple, brutal record. This person is with their district, or they're constantly voting against it. That alone would already change how some people behave. But I don't think the scoreboard is the end goal. The next layer is where digital democracy starts to look like real power. We vote on clearly written options. Congress is required to draft the legal text from those choices. And if they ignore what we voted for, there are built in consequences, which could look like mandatory public hearings in the district anytime a rep goes against a clear digital mandate, party rules that strip committee seniority when members repeatedly ignored their district's votes, and a culture where organized people use that data to recruit and support challengers who publicly commit to honoring the district's digital votes. The point isn't to worship an app, it's to make ignoring a clear, well informed public vote so costly that following our lead becomes the path of least resistance. And beyond reacting to Congress, there's one more piece: digital pipelines for our own ideas. If enough verified people in a district back a plain language proposal, that issue has to be put on the agenda and turned into bill text, locally, statewide, or even nationally. We already have the tech. The fight is about forcing a political class that lives on fog and delay to operate in a world where we set the agenda and they have to answer to it. I don't believe we're stuck forever in a system where the only thing we can do is wait 2 years and hope enough people remember. I think we're early in a bigger shift from politics as something that happens to us to politics as something we are continuously, digitally shaping. My end goal is for a full on digital democracy where we vote directly on major policies in plain language. Bills are built from what we've already said we want, and ignoring that mandate comes with automatic consequences for the people in office. Not because tech is magic, but because we finally aim it at power instead of just letting it keep us entertained. If you're tired of screaming into the void, here's your tiny homework from this episode. Find one place, just one, where you can plug in digitally where you live. Maybe it's a participatory budget project, an issue voting platform, or a local consultation that's happening online. Use it once this month, then tell someone else what you did. And if nothing like that exists where you live, that's a data point too. Ask your city council, school board, or state rep why you don't have even a small way to vote directly online on the decisions that they make. If this episode helped you put words to the frustration that you've been feeling, share it with a friend who's asked why we can't just fire Congress. And check out the full Substack piece where I break it all down in writing. Again, you're watching The Brief, and this is Patty with Politically Pomp. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to support my work, and I'll see you all next time.